They fired him for stealing a bracelet he never touched.
What they didn't know, he owned the building they fired him in.
What are you talking about?
I own this building. I own this company.
You? That's impossible!
Your grandfather built this company from a garage. Tomorrow, it's yours. I'll take the chair, Dad, just not tomorrow. Sir, this expansion will increase our output by 40%.
That's ambitious. What about the supply chain risks?
We've secured new contracts. If you look at the floor, you'll see the upgrades.
Impressive. What is the projected ROI?
20% in the first year, sir.
Good. Let's review the details.
They fired him for stealing a bracelet he never touched. What they didn't know, he owned the building they fired him in. The boy who wasn't there. Tomorrow, the board would make it official. Roland Dane would step down. His only son would become the youngest chairman in the company's history. Your grandfather built this company from a garage, Roland said. Tomorrow, it's yours. Maddox Dane didn't smile. I'll take the chair, Dad. Just not tomorrow. Roland set down his coffee. What do you mean, not tomorrow? I've read every report, every spreadsheet. I know how Dane Robotics looks on paper. Maddox stood by the window, watching the warehouse floor 11 stories below, tiny bodies moving between machines like ants. I don't know how it looks from down there. Say what you actually mean, Maddox. I'm going in undercover. Entry level. No last name. No badge that says Dane on it. Roland almost laughed. That's insane. What's insane is inheriting power over people I've never once talked to. And if someone hurts you, insults you, then I'll finally know what it feels like for the people at the bottom. 15 days, Dad. That's all I'm asking. Roland studied his son for a long moment. What name will you use? Cole Bishop. Start when? Tomorrow morning. Temp position. Warehouse operations. The staffing agency had promised him a badge and an orientation packet. What he got was a man behind a folding table who looked at him like he was already a problem. $200, the man said. Cash. Before you walk through that door. The agency said I was cleared. Then the agency lied to you, kid. You want the job or not? Maddox, now Cole, pulled 2 crumpled bills from his pocket. Real money. He'd never paid for anything with cash that mattered before. Smart choice, the man said, pocketing it without a receipt. Be here before 8 tomorrow. Don't make me say it twice. Cole walked away thinking one thought, sharp as a blade. Asterisk corruption at the front door. That didn't take long. Asterisk. 15 days, no name. His first morning, a woman with sharp eyes and sharper heels stopped him before he'd taken 10 steps onto the floor. You. New guy. Name. Cole Bishop, ma'am. Then listen carefully, Cole. Her badge read Paisley Kroft, floor supervisor. Take those boxes to conference C. Then give me a black coffee, 2 sugars. Don't spill a drop on my floor. Got it. Somewhere behind him, laughter. Not friendly laughter. A woman near the loading dock, dark ponytail, paint-stained sneakers, eyes that didn't look away when his did, shook her head at the others. Don't mind them, she said once they'd gone. First week here feels like public hazing. You didn't have to help me. I know. She smiled, small and quick. That's usually the best reason to do it. Her name tag said Harlow Briggs. Thanks, Harlow. Welcome to Dane Robotics. Try not to let the building swallow you whole. He didn't know it yet, but that sentence would matter more than anything else said to him in 15 days. 2 floors up, in an office with the blinds always shut, a different conversation was happening. He shouldn't be here, a man's voice said. I'll handle it. The shell vendors are active, said another. First transfer clears tomorrow. And the original contracts? Still in records. Then destroy them before transition day. If the Dane kid walks in and orders an audit, we're finished. The man behind the desk was Trent Kowalski, VP of Operations. The woman across from him was Paisley Kroft. Neither of them knew the Dane kid was already 3 floors below them, carrying boxes in a warehouse vest. On day 4, Cole overheard something that stopped him cold. Please don't cancel the surgery. Harlow was whispering into her phone, back turned, voice cracking. I'm getting the money. I just need until tonight. A pause. I understand policy. I'm asking for 1 more day. She turned and saw him standing there. Her face went pale. You weren't supposed to hear that. Your mom. She needs surgery. Insurance won't cover the rest. Harlow wiped her eyes fast, like she was mad at them for showing up. Payroll's been sitting on 2 months of my overtime. I've asked 4 times. They're just holding your pay? Welcome to corporate America, she said, forcing a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. Sometimes they don't fire you. They just squeeze you until you break. Cole didn't say anything. But that night, for the first time since he'd walked into this building, he was furious, not at strangers on a spreadsheet, but at a name and a face he now knew. The next morning, he went to HR himself. I'm here about Harlow Briggs's overtime release, he said, and the reimbursement hold. She needs both processed today. It's urgent. The woman behind the desk didn't even look up. Everything's urgent when people want money. This is money she already earned. Then maybe she should have thought about that before making her personal life the company's problem. Her mother is in the hospital, and Dane Robotics is not a charity. I'm not asking for charity. Then stop begging, she snapped, and get back to work. Cole walked out shaking. He said one thing under his breath that he meant with his whole chest. Asterisk, one day, somebody's going to talk to you the way you talk to everyone else. Asterisk, a passing employee muttered. In this building? Not likely. The setup. Day 9. Someone had moved a folding table into the main walkway, right where the forklifts turned. Cole clipped it with a pallet jack. Boxes scattered. Paisley appeared like she'd been waiting. So now the temp argues with gravity? No, Cole said carefully. I'm just not admitting to something that was set up. Security. Pull his badge. This wasn't his fault, Harlow said, stepping in fast. I saw the table get moved. Somebody put it there. Careful, Harlow, Paisley said, voice like ice. You want to go down with him? That's when Paisley gasped, hand flying to her wrist. My bracelet. My bracelet is gone. Search his bag, Kowalski said, appearing from nowhere. They found it. Diamond, gold clasp, sitting right on top of Cole's lunch. Well, Paisley said, smiling now. There it is. That's not mine. It was planted. Of course it was, Paisley said. They always say that. Harlow stepped forward. He didn't steal it. Really? Paisley's eyes narrowed. You know him that well? No, Harlow said, steady. I just know desperation and guilt aren't the same thing. Get them both out of here. Roland Dane heard about it within the hour. His hands were shaking when he set down the phone. They hit my son. They framed him. Dad, it's fine, I'm calling the police. Outside counsel. Everybody. Not yet, Maddox said quietly. Asterisk not yet. Asterisk they assaulted you. If you move now, Kowalski and Kroft will bury the trail. Blame it on a software glitch. A dead contractor. We'll never find the real money. Then what do? We wait. And we watch. That night, Cole Bishop was officially terminated. Effective immediately. No severance. No explanation on paper. 2 floors up, Kowalski wasn't celebrating. The mirrored backups have to go too, he told Paisley. I'm not risking discovery this close to the transition. Physical contracts first, Paisley said. Then server logs. And the compliance flags on the shell accounts? Already found someone to pin those on. The quiet after. Maddox sat alone in his apartment that night, still wearing the warehouse vest, the fake badge with the name Cole Bishop resting on the table in front of him. He didn't turn on the lights. He just sat there, turning the badge over in his hands, thinking about a woman crying into her phone about a surgery she couldn't afford, in a company with his own last name that had made her beg for money she'd already earned. He didn't cry. He didn't rage. He just sat in the dark and decided something was going to change, no matter what it cost him. The next morning, he made a choice he couldn't take back. He used his father's old executive credentials, the ones he'd sworn he wouldn't touch until the 15 days were up, to pull every vendor contract Dane Robotics had signed in the last 2 years. It was a line he wasn't supposed to cross yet. Once he crossed it, there was no going back to being just Cole Bishop. The investigation was real now. Official. Traceable back to him. He found it in 11 minutes. For shell vendors, no real addresses, no real employees, receiving 7-figure consulting fees approved by one signature. Trent Kowalski's. The break. 2 days later, Kowalski called Harlow into his office. You saw the table moved, he said. You told security someone set it up. Because someone did. Sign this. He slid a paper across the desk. It says you were mistaken. That you didn't see anything clearly. That Cole Bishop likely did take the bracelet. I'm not signing that. It's a lie. Your mother's surgery is in 4 days, Harlow. I checked. The hospital hasn't received full payment. I could make sure Dane Robotics Medical Assistance Fund, the one that doesn't officially exist yet, but could, very quickly, finds its way to her account. Or I could make sure you're blacklisted from every warehouse job in this state. Harlow stared at the paper for a long, long moment. Her hand was shaking when she picked up the pen. She signed it. When Cole heard, 2 days later, through a warehouse contact who still texted him, something in his chest went cold and quiet. The one person in that building who'd looked at him like a human being had put her name on a lie to save her mother. He didn't blame her, but it still felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. 15 days. The board meeting was scheduled for 8 a.m. Roland Dane stood at the podium, Maddox seated in the front row, still in a plain gray hoodie, not a suit in sight. Thank you all for being here, Roland began. Before today's appointment becomes official, there's something this board needs to understand. He turned to his son. For the past 15 days, my son has not been preparing for leadership from a corner office. Maddox stood up. Paisley's face went white. Cole, my name is Maddox Dane, he said. Some of you knew me as Cole Bishop. Some of you only knew me as someone you thought didn't matter. Mr. Dane, I can explain. You'll have plenty of time, Maddox said. Preferably with investigators in the room. This is fabricated. No, Maddox said. Fabricated was the bracelet in my bag. Fabricated was the statement you forced Harlow Briggs to sign under threat of her mother's surgery. Silence swallowed the room whole. Trent Kowalski. Paisley Kroft. You're being detained pending charges of fraud, conspiracy, evidence destruction, and financial misconduct. I didn't know who you were, Paisley said, voice cracking. That sentence, Maddox said, is the whole problem. If I had really been poor and temporary and unprotected, I still would have deserved to be treated like a person. The reforms were announced within the hour. All withheld overtime, paid in full, company-wide. A real emergency medical fund, effective immediately. Temp worker intake reviewed from the ground up. An anonymous ethics line, live by end of day. Harlow Briggs's name was cleared publicly, in front of the same room that had watched her get dragged out in handcuffs 2 weeks earlier. What rewrites everything? Maddox found her in the parking lot, sitting on the curb, staring at nothing. You lied to me, she said, not looking up. This whole time. I did. And you expect me to just trust you now? No. I expect to earn it. She finally looked at him. Do you know what it cost me to sign that paper? I thought I was choosing between my mother's life and my own conscience. I know, and I'm sorry that choice ever existed. Harlow reached into her jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, worn soft at the edges, like she'd carried it for days. I made a copy, she said quietly. Before I signed Kowalski's version, I kept the real statement. I was going to find a way to get it to someone, anyone, once my mom was safe. Maddox stared at it. The whole time he'd thought her signature was the end of her fighting for him. It wasn't. It was the beginning of a second plan, one she'd never told him about, because she didn't trust anyone enough to say it out loud. Not even the boy she liked, because she still thought he was just a temp with nothing to lose. She hadn't just survived the betrayal. She'd quietly outmaneuvered it. When I had power, Maddox said, people respected my name. When I had none, you respected something else. Something I didn't even know I still had. That's a dangerous thing to say, Harlow said. To someone who hasn't forgiven you yet. Then I'll keep showing up until you do. She almost smiled. Good. Start with honesty this time. He never did find out if she meant this conversation, or every conversation that came after it. Some doors only open once you've already lost the key.